And we are going to be off right about now.
Welcome to a podcast experience like no other.
I'm your FCSD, friendly Canadian shit disturber.
A show about everything, but also about nothing.
Today, Steve stopped me from being a millionaire. I could have been a millionaire.
A show about sports and the power of friendship.
Texted everybody, please mute your phones. And Emmanuel is such a jackass.
A podcast so knowledgeable about sports, you will never need to listen to another podcast ever again.
MLB. Okay, I think the Blue Jays and White Sox make it to the end. Is that possible?
A show that delivers the facts.
What is Daryl Morey on? He's got to be on some strong crack cocaine or something, asking that much for Ben Simmons.
Welcome to the We Got Balls podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the We Got Balls podcast. My name is Steve Trudeau. Today I'm joined by my co-host Emmanuel Pacheco. How are you, buddy?
Wow.
I'm doing awesome. I'm doing great today. Sunny day here. No storms up here. I think you guys got the storm in Boston, right?
Yeah, and notice I only introduced Emmanuel as a co-host because Mikey Almeida is without power. I am also without power. I'm just recording in a closet of a Starbucks. So if the background looks a little strange, you know why. Just kidding. It's not a Starbucks. It's an in-law. It's in my in-law's house, but it is very creepy in the background. But we don't need Mikey. We have someone better today. Well, the bar's low, I guess, but we have someone better today. Much better. Colin Cronin from overseas, from the great land of Ireland, representing the Irish NFL show, a podcast, bunch of Irish guys. Is there an English guy as well, Colin?
Yeah, Mark is from England, but he's living a long time in Ireland. So he's honorary Irish, I suppose.
Okay, so a couple of good lads, cut it up about the NFL stuff. Actually, a really, really good listen. I listened to a couple episodes over the week. They know their stuff, and they sound great doing it. So thank you for joining us today, Colin.
No bother, happy to join you, and delighted I could win that taller than Danny DeVito contest in being better than your other co-host.
You know, he's great. He's a great guy. That's all I can say. He's a great guy. We love him. Wasn't going to help us much today about the football stuff, but we still love him.
Do I have to agree to that? Do I have to love him too? He is a relative. Like I am his godfather. Just
you're kind of forced to love him because you're related, but it's all good.
Okay.
It is
all... with relatives, there's love and like, though, isn't there?
Yeah. No, when I get mad at my family, this is what happens. My brothers, for instance, I love them all. I said, I really love you, but I really don't like you.
There is a word in Russian, right? And
yeah.
I can't think of it, but basically it means I love you. But in this particular instance, I hate you, which is fantastic. I mean, to have one word for that, I love that they encapsulate that.
Please find me that word because I feel that way every day about Emmanuel. I swear to God. Me and Emmanuel have the most love-hate relationship of all time.
Yep, absolutely. Just mention the word Elon Musk and we go at it.
So. Oh, God, not that guy again. Please not. But I do have a question, a very specific question to start you with today, Colin. How do you feel about Scottish people? I know it's a very strange question to start with, but I will tell you why after you answer that question.
I love the Scots. They're great crack, in fairness. And I think that's in Ireland, right? Essentially, it comes down to, is somebody good crack, right? And crack is CRAIC.
Yeah, please explain what the crack is.
Yeah, you were looking at me like, so I used to run and I still work with international students, but I used to run a study abroad program, and you gave me the same look that, and the same tone used to even come off emails, because these study abroad students would come over from the States and from Canada. They'd ring home or they'd message home and they'd say, "Oh, Mom, Dad, I'm having such good crack," and parents freak out. It does not mean everyone in Ireland is on the pipe. Crack is fun. Okay, CRAIC. And outside of pubs, you'll see like good music, good food, good crack. It means fun, and it can be used like something can be good crack. So a night out, right? If you go out with the lads, how was last night? Oh, it was good crack. Oh, what's Brendan? Brendan is great crack. You know Brendan. So Crack can
Oh,
be used
no.
in different. I say myself, I say if something isn't enjoyed, like the Broncos this year are minus crack. Okay, because they're so bad.
You're
So
hungover.
you can use crack in different contexts. The Scots they're great crack. They're great storytellers. They don't take themselves too seriously generally, and I think that's what's so important. Is that's what we love in Ireland, right? We love a bit of the absurd. They're probably a little. I don't know if they're as absurd as us, but they
I love
are
it.
great crack and great storytellers.
I love the segue in what you gave me because I think the people we met from Scotland
Yeah.
were great crack, as in they
Yeah.
were on a lot of crack.
Yeah, it was the absolute English, like the American version of crack.
And let me give you the background. So in our early days of the podcast, we were doing a little bit of like guerrilla marketing on something called Omegle. I don't know if you're familiar with Omegle. It's kind of like you're throwing random people to chat with online, kind of like chat roulette. So we met some people from Scotland. They seemed really cool. And we're like, hey, you want to come like chat on a podcast with us? You know, it'd be fun. Excellent. I swear, Colm, as soon as you press that start button, record button, it was like the full moon hit, and they were like werewolves, man. They turned like that. They went from good crack to good crack immediately. Within the first 5 minutes, they accused Walt Disney Films of being the devil. And it was it was just at that point we're like, okay, we pretended that we lost connection. We just booted them out and we started over again. So
Yeah,
Were
it was a
were,
disaster.
were they being serious or were they like,
oh
oh, they
yeah,
were
Oh,
okay?
yeah. No, this
Okay.
was
oh
very
yeah.
serious. Yeah,
No, because they gave us all the explanations as to why they're the devil. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Film
was
by
What
film.
what I can say, if you want to redeem it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Scottish Twitter is amazing. Okay, you have to be able to you have to put on a Scottish accent in your head in order to read it, right? Because the
Oh,
phonetic spelling, but it is absolutely fantastic. I cannot recommend Scottish Twitter highly enough. They're really really funny people. In fairness to the Scots.
All right, I will check it out. We're definitely, since we have Colin here, he's from the Irish NFL show. He knows all this NFL stuff. It's going to be a very heavy football episode for you listening today. I will get into all of that, but first, because I want to do a little ice break with Emmanuel and Colin. I am the only American here, so I want to get your guys' opinions of Americans. One from a Canadian, one from an Irishman. Okay, does that sound fair?
Yeah.
We'll call this game International Friendlies.
Okay.
All right, we'll start off with the really easy one. The state in the United States that I would most likely want to visit is what? Emmanuel, you can go first.
I would say California.
That's fair. I mean, you live in cold ass Toronto, so you want to get into the warm weather. I feel you there.
California for sure. California for sure.
Colin, go ahead. What you got?
For me, I've been fortunate, right? So I've actually visited 37 of the 50.
Wow.
So I'm caught, right? If I can go back to, if you're asking me to choose a state, I'm going back to, it's Colorado, because I absolutely love Colorado. It's beautiful. If I
It is
won the
beautiful.
lottery, I think I'd need to win the lottery in order to afford a house in Colorado currently, but I'd buy a house in Colorado. If you're asking me for a state I haven't yet been to that I want to visit, I want to see Montana. I want to see Big Sky
beautiful.
Country.
Absolutely. And have you been to Red Rocks out there in Colorado yet?
I have been to Red
Oh,
Rocks.
man.
Absolutely stunning. Like,
I feel like
unbelievable.
a terrible American. This guy's from Ireland, been to 37 United States, and I have been to like 12.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I thought you like said 3.
I should have went for the joke and said 3. All right. So on the flip side, here's the fun one. The state I would least want to visit.
Oh yeah. Do you want me to answer first?
Oh yeah, go ahead. I know which one you're
Oh,
gonna say. You
what-
can go 2 ways. I feel like on this
State?
one. Yeah,
Ohio. Ohio.
That's taking out
I've been to
Ohio.
Ohio multiple times for customers, and it was not fun at all.
Was
in
it
Ohio.
Cleveland?
It was Cleveland. Yes.
I knew it. When
Yeah,
you said Ohio, I knew it.
yeah.
Colin, we won't hold this against you, buddy. We know you can just be honest about this one, or you can say something nice and cop out of it. It's okay.
Okay, so I'll preface it with something nice in that I feel that many of the states that are considered flyover states are actually really good. Like I feel like Nebraska. I was in Nebraska. I had great bars, great food in Omaha. So it's not that. If I have to go for one, I'll probably I'll go Connecticut. If one has to
Yes,
go, I think
no,
Connecticut
yeah,
is
yeah.
going to be it,
I
because
love it.
I don't know what it brings to the party. And that I
He gets
feel
it. He gets it.
is what's got to go.
We
Yeah.
ranked New England states like a couple months ago on the podcast, and Connecticut finished dead last on everyone's list. It brings nothing to the party. You know what Connecticut's good for? It's the bridge between Boston, Massachusetts, and New York, New York. That's it. It's the state you just go between. That was the best answer. All right, just a couple more. The American custom that I least understand. So like something that Americans do that from another country, you're like, that is kind of bizarre. Why do you guys do that? And if you need a second, I will throw out one that I, as an American, find very strange that we're the only ones who do kind of tipping, restaurant tipping. I probably stole a good one of your guys. All of Europe. I don't know if they do it in Ireland, but most European, you go to France, you go to Italy, you don't tip when you go out to eat. It's kind of included in their paycheck. Manuel, you got anything?
Canadians, we tip. Like, so I'm the same, North American, so we tip. So I guess I understand you in Europe. I don't know. Like for me, it's what I don't understand with Americans is I want to phrase it as gluttony, or just having.
You're calling us
like,
fat.
well, not just fat, but just wanting everything
Big Macs.
bigger. Like, I think that's what it is. Like, and all my folks that I work with in the US and stuff, it's always bigger. Like, they have a bigger boat, they have a bigger house, they have a bigger, anything. Like, it just, they always have to up you with the bigger thing that they've done or bought or ate.
Emmanuel,
I don't understand.
I know the answer is probably yes, because they say you look like Ted Cruz, but have you ever been to Texas?
Yes. Oh yeah, multiple times.
That is the bigger is better state right there, my friend.
It's across the US. I still find that when I do deal with people, there is always this cordial conversation, and it's always, oh yeah, I had to sell my smaller boat and I had to buy a bigger boat. And it's always this thing that it's bigger, and it's a US thing, not a Canadian thing. That's just, yeah.
No, that's fair. I think that's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Colm, I know you had some time to think about that. Do you have anything for me?
Yeah, I do. I will. Yeah, like we tip somewhat over here, but it's, if a business is hiring somebody, the onus is on the business to pay their employees.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole other, you can get into that forever.
Yeah.
What I'm going to go with is what I have never understood. And as I said, I've traveled extensively in your country. I am a big fan of America, but dear God, what is the stall gap? What is the stall gap, America? You're allowed to have doors. You're allowed, it can go all the way to the ground.
Yes.
It's crazy town. You go in, you're sitting there, and like people are all but waving at you, like as they go in and out. It's like, no, I don't like this at all.
And the worst part is, I think, and I'm guilty of this, when you're trying to see if a stall is empty, yes, you can look on the ground, but sometimes you just peer through the gap to see if someone's in there if you want to know if the stall's open. It is bizarre.
Horrific. I mean, I guarantee you, right? George Costanza, in his list of the best bathrooms in New York in Seinfeld, I guarantee that was a factor. I guarantee it had to be a factor for George, because he'd be neurotic enough, I think, to factor that in as I would. I'm like, this is just ridiculous. You're like, your pants around your ankles, you're at your most vulnerable, and there's some random lad looking in at you, and you're like, no.
Well, the worst is sometimes they have the urinals without the dividers. That I can't do that as an owner, no matter who you are. Urinals without dividers, then don't even get me started on the trough. Disgusting. We are disgusting in America. I agree. That's what you're saying, Colm. I understand.
So, Colm, have you been to Canada as well? Have you visited in Canada anywhere?
I only passed through Canadian airports. I haven't been to.
He only travels.
I really want to, and I intend to. But I have yet to make it. I have been, like, I've seen, like, the airport doesn't really count. And I was visiting in-laws who were in Michigan, so I've seen the border. And once upon a time, way back when, I actually dated a girl from Saskatchewan.
Oh, okay.
But she lived in Ireland at the time, so I watched some Rough Riders football way back
Wow.
when as well. But no, Canada is on the need to visit list.
Yeah. Okay. You have an open invitation in Toronto if you ever come down, and you will absolutely love it.
Hey,
You'll absolutely.
Emmanuel.
Yeah. go
He
ahead.
he already said he'd rather go to 37 U.S. states before
Yeah,
he
I
went to
did.
that
This I know.
godforsaken
Yeah,
place
his
up in the north.
actions speak louder than words.
Now I have an open invite. You see, you
Yeah,
do that to
open
an
invite.
Irish person, and
Oh,
we'll rock up.
I have
And-
many
No.
stories. We'll finish with
Emmanuel
Trudeau,
gives
and then I
everyone
have
open
many stories.
invites, and he doesn't. He's someone. If you're new to the proceedings, you can never trust. He
Oh,
has
please,
a
come on.
smile on his face, but he is lying through his teeth. All right, last
when
one.
I rock up with about 17 other Irish folk,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we're all
There
outside.
you go.
Good.
All right, last one. We'll get into some actual NFL stuff. Just for this was a good way to kind of loosen everyone up and have a little fun. Last one. The most overrated American celebrity is blank.
Oh, most overrated.
I got one for you. If you want me to
Okay,
throw
you go
mine out.
first. Yeah, you go first. You go first.
Just all of them. Every single last one of the Kardashians.
Yeah,
Get the hell
Kardashian.
out of here.
100%. I have to agree with you. The Kardashians, I just don't understand. Well, I do understand and I don't understand, but it is absolutely anybody that's on a reality TV show that has been a big celebrity on the reality show. I just do not understand. Everybody on the Jersey Shore, as an example, and I've met them. I've met two of them live. The
Which
Situation,
ones, please?
Situation, and what's the girl with the
Oh,
the
please
short
tell me
girl?
it's Snooki.
Snooki. We've met Snooki and The Situation, and most horrible people I've ever met in my life.
Listen, if you love the podcast, please come back because in another day, Emmanuel's going to give us his encounters on the podcast with the Jersey Shore people because I would love to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, I will another day. That's a whole
Yes.
podcast into itself. That's a whole podcast in itself.
Am I going to get myself into a lot of trouble if I say Ellen?
Oh, really?
No, I'm with you. I'm over Ellen. It's too much. She's all
Nice.
pomp and show. I don't
She's
believe that
nice.
she's really that like, happy go lucky, energetic, dancing around. Also, you hear behind the scenes, she's kind of, burp. So
Yeah, it's the fakeness of it, and I think that has, like osmosis, that seeps into a culture, and I'm gonna pin it all on Ellen just because.
Yep.
every bad thing that's ever happened in the United States or that's given us a bad reputation, Ellen. All her fault. God damn it, Helen.
Shoot,
All right.
I hope we don't lose our audience now because of that comment. I don't know.
Yeah.
We've
Lots
lost
of Ellen fans.
10% of our audience because of that comment.
Well,
Guaranteed.
you can't lose 10%. There's only 5, so
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
there you
but
go. Boom.
We're okay.
All right, so let's get into some NFL stuff because that's the reason why I call him here. I think he's nice and loose. We warmed everyone up. We're having a good time. I want to start with the most juicy of the NFL stuff. That is the Kansas City Chiefs. One question column. What the hell?
It's a very good question, I feel, because the Chiefs, I think, are the story of the NFL season. I mean, if you go back, and I think not just the experts, because that they could be wrong, but I think the vast majority of people would have said that the Chiefs would be there or thereabouts, right? I think the worst people would have said is they're going to go get to the conference game, and that'll be they might lose to the Bills, and they won't go to the Super Bowl because it's so hard to kind of do it 3 times in a row. And instead they're not that. They have the same record as my Denver Broncos, who are in a world of hurt and like play, in the worst kind of stretch in about 50 odd years. And it's kind of on both sides of the ball, because defensively they're really hurting, and they've tried to change things. They dropped Dirty Dan. We've seen Honey Badger kind of come out and make comments, but you can run all over them, you can throw all over them, and as a result, the Mahomes seems to be trying to compensate by. I saw a great tweet that said Mahomes seems to be going for 21 points on every drive, and it feels like that. And he's therefore, throwing more interceptions than he ordinarily would. And I guess your systems can only last for so long anyway. Alex Ferguson, who was the manager of Manchester United, and he was manager for more than a quarter of a century, kind of the winningest coach in terms of league victories. He won everything in the game, continually successful, continually brought about new teams, and it was never just based on one person. Like he would lose his main player, he'd build another great team. He said that he felt that the longest any great team could kind of last was 4 years. Now Tom Brady is the outlier, and look, there's the asterisk beside, that once you involve Brady, all bets are kind of off. But I think teams have looked to defend the Chiefs differently, partly based on Brandon Staley and Vic Fangio a little bit, but also what the Bucs did to them in the Super Bowl. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah, and I definitely would agree. It's a combination, right? So first and foremost, that defense has taken a huge step back. Last year, they finished with the 11th best points per game defense in the league and 17th middle of the pack yards per game. Right now, they're the 5th worst defense in yards per game and points allowed. So the defense taking a huge step back. And then if you look at Mahomes' numbers right now, they're all great except for that interception number. Right now, he's sitting at about 2,000 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. If you take that number and spread it out across the whole season to see what his season totals would look like, they're about the same in yards and touchdowns, but the interception number is more than 3 times what it was last year. So it's a combination of A, Mahomes being sloppy with the ball, turning the ball over and giving the opposing team great field position, and B, that defense is just horrendous. So it's forcing him to just keep throwing and throwing and throwing. And to your point, the turning point seems to be in that Super Bowl against the Buccaneers. Granted, their offensive line was all banged up, so we thought, what, maybe it's just a fluke. It's just not going to happen. They're going to fix that O-line. He's going to have more time in the pocket. But what the Buccaneers did was they played cover 2 in the back. They kept everything in front, and they said, hey, Kansas City, hey, Mahomes, no big plays. If you want to beat us, slice and dice us 5 yards at a time, 5 yards at a time. And he just isn't built for that. The guy wants to just be a gunslinger. And I understand he's been doing it for 3 years successfully. Why change it now? But defenses have caught on and said, hey, we're just going to stop the big play and make you play up front and play in small areas in the front in front of you. And I think that's the biggest difference is A, that defense is bad, which is now forcing him we have to get big plays, and defenses are taking the big play away. So it's just forcing him into the stranglehold of doing something, playing right into their hand is you can't go deep. You need to go deep. You need to push the pace, and they're not letting you do that. It's like quicksand right now at the Kansas City team. I will ask you this though. Right now they're 3-4. Like you said, they're the same record as the Broncos. They are 3rd in the AFC West. Do you think, Colin, that this is something that can be fixed? And maybe not fully. Maybe we might not see the Chiefs of 2020, 2019. But do you still think this team could get it together enough to make a playoff run?
I think they're in with a puncher's chance, right? When you have Mahomes. But I will say that I think you're spot on that he keeps looking for the deep ball, and maybe he needs to learn to take a step back. Now, I don't think this is the end of Patrick Mahomes, right?
No.
Great quarterbacks have had bad seasons. Peyton Manning had a 6-10. John Elway had a 5-11. Aaron Rodgers had a 6-10. No, 6-9-1. So these great QBs have had bad seasons, so that can happen. I think for the Chiefs, though, now I will caveat by saying last year the Seahawks in the first half of the season were historically bad on defense, not just bad, historically bad, and they managed to turn it around. And the coaching staff at KC is very talented, but we don't know the impact that Andy Reid. The accident, the drink driving accident that his son was involved in, we don't know the impact that may have had. Are we seeing some residual effects? We don't know. The coaching staff, I think, are talented enough to get it together. The issue for them is the Chiefs' schedule isn't particularly kind, other than the fact that they do get to play the Broncos twice. So I can see them certainly winning, 8-9 games. Will that be enough for the playoffs, though? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's tough because it's hard for us to judge now. I think this is the first year we're seeing the expanded playoff with the extra game. So I don't know what the magic number will be. Usually when you're around 10-6 in a 16 game schedule, you're on the borderline. You're probably going to make it in. I mean, there was a team last year that I think the Dolphins were 10-6 and missed out in the playoffs. But if you finish 10-6, you're feeling pretty good. This year with a 17 game schedule, you're probably looking at 10-7 or 11-6 is probably the line. I think you're probably good at 11-6. 10-7 a little questionable. So for them to do that, they're going to have to go the rest of the way out. Let's see, quick math: 7-2 to finish 11-2 or 10-3. Math's tough apparently right now, but right now it doesn't seem likely they will do that. I will say the only caveat to that is this NFL season's really weird, where I'm noticing that there's either a grouping at the top that's very top heavy and very bottom heavy with like the records so far. So you have a couple teams 5-2 at the very, very top, and then there's just a bunch of crap at the bottom with like 1 win, 2 win. So if anything, this might be the year that a poor record could sneak into that last wild card slot. I mean, right now, if the season ended today in the AFC, I believe the Browns would be the last wildcards team at 4-3. So it's very possible. There's a couple more wins here or there, and they could overtake the Browns for that spot. I don't think it's over for the Chiefs. But let's just have a little fun with you, because I know you're a huge Broncos fan. First of all, how? You're from Dublin, Ireland. What brought you to the Broncos?
Well, I'm actually from an even smaller place. Like, well, Dublin's it's well-known city, but in an American context, it's small. It's about 1.4 million. But I'm originally from County Cork in Ireland, which is way down south, and I'm from a small town there. But they used to show NFL highlights on Irish television, and this is going back to the days we had 2 TV stations. And in fairness, I loved, I've always loved all sports. So it was on after the Italian football highlights. And back then there was a team that played in neon orange at the time. And they had this magical number 7 who was doing Patrick Mahomes' things before Patrick Mahomes was a QB. Like, it was even conceived. And he was amazing. And I fell in love with the Broncos. And the first season I watched, they got to the Super Bowl, and they got the biggest beatdown in Super Bowl history by the 49ers, which is a record that will probably stand the test of time, I think. But we love a kind of a flawed genius in Ireland. We particularly we love that somebody who there's a little bit of an Achilles heel. Georgie Best in football is one who played for Manchester United, incredible player, but was an alcoholic. So we love that sort of thing. And Elway was the flawed genius for so long. He carried teams to them, but then the Broncos would get absolutely annihilated. So I've been a Broncos fan since '89. And what was interesting was, for a few years, it was easy to watch because the highlights were on. Then they lost the highlights, and this was pre-internet. So there was no way to watch. So you're dependent on like a few kind of paragraphs in the newspaper on a Tuesday. And it's not until I get to college, internet is available. I can read up on it much more, but I can't afford a sports package or anything like that. So I'm still reading, but much more up to date. And now I can watch every game. And it's kind of a blessing and a curse. I call it an affliction because I'm like a guy with a sore tooth, right? I can't not touch it. And when the Broncos are on, despite how bad they are, I find myself watching it. Like I've got up in the middle of the night last Thursday night to watch the Browns third stringers.
That was an awful game.
It was an awful game. It was worse being on the Broncos side of it. And I'm watching that in the middle of the night. I'm watching Dearness Johnson, and kudos to that kid, right? He first start in the league, a guy who the Saints let him go, and back in 2018 he DM'd every single AAF team to get a shot. Orlando took him on. He did well enough. He got to go with the Browns. Now he's behind two really good running backs, but when he got his opportunity, he was great. So yeah, I've been following the Broncos a long time. Some magical moments: Elway's 2 Super Bowls, the Peyton Manning era.
Ugh.
But
Was it 56 touchdowns that year or something crazy for Peyton Manning?
55 in
55.
2013. Peyton threw 55. He was
Insane.
yeah, he was unbelievable. But then that same season, Mile High Magic, Joe Flacco and Raheem Moore falls over, and the Ravens go on to win the Super Bowl. So that's the thing. Once you get to the playoffs, once you're in the dance, anything can happen. But yeah, it's been tough slogging as a Broncos fan for since winning the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 50 back in early 2016.
Well, you mentioned the toothache analogy, and I think that's great. And that's like the perfect way to describe the Broncos this year, because your tooth must be killing you right now. This is a team that, it was a trendy pick. The Broncos is like a Super Bowl dark horse because they have a lot of great pieces. Their defense is great. That defensive line with Bradley Chubb and Von Miller, fantastic. And they have a lot of interesting skill guys as far as their wide receivers are concerned. And they have Noah Fant, a tight end that everyone really likes. But the big thing that people were worried about was the quarterback situation. And I want to ask you, as a diehard Broncos fan and a avid follower of the NFL, like, what do you think they should do going forward? I mean, Teddy Two Gloves, solid quarterback. I don't think he's going to be the guy to bring you to the promised land. And then I think it's about time to give up on the quarterback they drafted a couple years ago. No.
Yeah, I don't think either of the two guys that we have are the answer for different reasons. Teddy is super nice guy. Everyone has only good things to say about him. He plays his heart out. He's a trier, but he's just not good enough, I think, to be a franchise guy. Great backup, great to have around the roster. I was really excited when we drafted Drew Lock a few years ago, and he got his shot against the Chargers, won a really exciting game. The Broncos had a good end to that year. Now, it helped the opposition that they were playing, and there was kind of no pass rush, and he went into Kansas City in a blizzard and was awful, and everyone kind of said that's the blip. And then last year he was terrible. Most interceptions in the league. There was also the fiasco where the Broncos had to play a game without a quarterback, which was because the quarterback room took off their trackers, it took off their masks, and got caught, and then lied to the league about it, and they were forced to play a game without a QB.
Who was a quarterback who played QB that game? Because I actually started him in fantasy. The wide receiver who played quarterback. I can't remember his name right now.
Yeah, Kendall Hinton is his name.
Oh, yes.
Do you want to know the worst thing about that poor kid? Like, he gets thrown to the Lions, right? In that he has to start a QB, not being a QB, and he got to play against the Saints, who were a very good team at the time. Because he didn't take the first snap, the Broncos started in Wildcat with Philip Lindsay. He doesn't get credited as starting.
He didn't get a starting quarterback. Wow, that's a bummer.
Yeah. That's what that is. So look, to me, I think there was a huge loss of trust with Drew Lock over that. I would love if it worked, but they had to slim the playbook down for Drew towards the end of last year. That's not stuff you want to see. Progression in your QB, not regression. Like, that's the antithesis of where you want to go. But I look at the current QB. Like, it's such a Broncos phenomenon that we're having a bad season in a year where it's not a great year for college QBs.
Well, this is a great segue, because I know we wanted to talk a little bit about the rookie quarterbacks, and you look at the Broncos situation, you say, well, we need a quarterback. It's a bad draft class for a quarterback. But so many experts would have told you last year, oh man, 2021 draft class, this is the class if you want a quarterback. There are so many studs. And then if you look at the production after 7 weeks, I don't know, man. You got Trevor Lawrence. He's looking so-so in Jacksonville. I think he's going to be better than what he's shown. It's Jacksonville. What are you going to do? Zach Wilson, Yeah. Trey Lance, he was always thought of being like a development project. So I'm not going to be too jump to the gun too much about what he's going to be as a quarterback. Justin Fields not looking great in Chicago. The crazy thing is, of all the quarterbacks, the one that's looked probably I don't want to say best, but just most ready for the NFL game and just competent, Mac Jones in New England, which is bananas. So I know you want to talk about the rookie quarterbacks. What do you think about just how this is shaken up so far?
I think the way it's playing out tells you a lot on it ends up where you end up is so important, right? Because I think Lawrence is going to be magnificent. I know he did a rough start, but most QBs, particularly in that opening few weeks, have a rough start. But how he has looked over the last 3 games, given he's dealing with a situation where his head coach, right, was MIA, didn't go back. They had all that distraction. I saw him play in London. I was fortunate to do that. Urban wasn't in the dressing room when they won that game. Urban didn't. That has never been explained. I don't know. It seems to have been swept under the carpet. But Urban wasn't in the locker room. It was Marvin Jones Jr. giving out game balls, which is a crazy situation.
Bizarre.
Yeah, really bizarre.
The talk of the town's been that Urban Meyer is unhappy in the NFL. He comes from the college ranks where he's used to losing 1 game, if that, in a season. And he had an abysmal preseason. They started off, I believe, 5 straight losses before they played Miami, or was it 4 losses, 4 or 5 losses? So he's just unhappy. He's miserable, and he's been known to be a guy who bounces around a lot. So, it just looks like all signs are pointing to him eventually leaving the team. He doesn't seem happy there. And I feel bad for a guy like Trevor Lawrence. By the way, did you see what he did to Trevor Lawrence in response to him being caught in the bar?
No.
Oh God. So apparently he told the media like something to the account of, like I told Trevor not to do stuff like that when he's out on his bachelor party. It's completely throwing his quarterback under the bus for something that he did stupidly. Ridiculous. Anywho, I agree with you. Trevor Lawrence, what did you want to jump in, call him?
Just on the thing about Lawrence as well is he had the slow start, but remember, Urban they picked the generational talent. They picked number 1. They run a QB competition between him and Gardner Minshew for the summer. I mean, it was insanity. Like, surely you would just give him the reps.
Have you seen Gardner Minshew's hair and mustache?
Have you seen Trevor Lawrence's hair? It is. Oh, it is. Absolutely. It's beautiful and golden and flowing. But
Emmanuel, do me a favor while we're talking. Please look up a picture of Trevor Lawrence and Gardner Minshew and tell me who you would start based on the looks. Just looks alone.
Yes, do that. But are you familiar with the story about when Gruden was and obviously there's all these sorts of issues, but there's a story about, and it's not about him, it's about when he was doing the Monday Night Football stuff, whatever, right? Monday Night Football, and they go up to the Colts, right? And they're at the training, and they notice that Peyton's backups aren't getting any reps. And so they ask, right, Tom Moore, who is the leading the training, why isn't Peyton's backup getting any reps? And Tom Moore, I won't swear on your podcast, but
oh no, go for it. It's cool.
Okay, yeah. He goes, guys, if 18 goes down, we're fucked, and we don't practice fucked. And that is how you should approach it in terms, as particularly your rookie QB. Like, give him as many reps as you can, get him ready to go. You need him to hit the ground running. And Urban Meyer dereliction of duty for my reckoning and not doing that.
No, I'm with you. I thought you were going to go a different way with that, of why the other guys weren't getting reps. Because I remember a story like about the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. And Brett Favre would pretty much hog every single rep. And the idea was, I don't want this young kid even to get to look a smidgen good and take my spot. So I thought it was going to be a protective thing, but I kind of see where you're going with that there. You don't want to go to plan B. Just plan for the best. And if the worst happens, be ready for it. All right. So Emmanuel, you have the pictures in front of you. Emmanuel,
So I got it's a toss up, but I clearly Trevor Lawrence is the one I would
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
He
the one.
looks like if you were to cast a quarterback for like a Disney movie about a high school football team rising from adversity, he would be the high school quarterback.
But there must be a dog that he matches what the dog looks like. It's a golden retriever, and his hair will match the dog for sure.
Yes. And what do you think about Gardner Minshew's overall?
Yeah, that's just a guy I do not want to meet in an alley. Like, I just feel that he would leave me at a bar and leave me for dead.
Now, do you imagine that Gardner Minshew owns any shirts with sleeves? Because I don't imagine he has
No,
any shirts with sleeves.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
Also, is there any quarterback more visually perfect for Jacksonville than Gardner Minshew?
Oh, this is perfect. This is
No.
perfect.
It's unfortunate he's in Philly now. I mean, I don't see the fit, but as far as looks are concerned, I think he could be. I think he's a solid quarterback overall. I don't think he's too bad, but
Hey, if quarterbacking doesn't work for him, then he can always go into headband sales. I think he could probably get a business out of that, 'cause he seems to be wearing headbands all the time.
can you is that him? There's a photo third row, second to the right. I
This one?
know this is terrible for a podcast. No, all the way.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. This is great for the podcast audience.
Third row.
Over, no, third row.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
that's
one.
not him. That's not him.
Okay.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is him.
It is
Beautiful.
him. Yeah.
His
That is
new mullet.
beautiful.
200% Sex Panther, 300% Jaguar, and 500% gold.
You know what? I'm gonna name our podcast episode today that 200%
Sex
Sex
Panther.
Panther.
100%. This is the three hosts. When we have you, me, and Mikey, which one's the Sex Panther, which one's the Jaguar, and which one's gold? Oh man, this is like gold. Yeah, this is Colin. This is why they invite me to these things, is just to have these little tangent things.
He takes
Well-
the podcast and runs it off the rails. That's his job.
Well, that's in fairness, that's a good thing. I think Gardner has made the most of his ability, in fairness. And just prior to COVID, he was actually going to do a series where he drove across America in like what we would describe as the camper van.
Oh yes, RV.
and kind of from the kind of Little Miss Sunshine type van.
Yes.
So he's very smart, and he was kind of capitalizing on the mullet and the mustache, and kudos to him for doing that.
It made him famous. It made him who he is. I love it. And just to jump back to the Trevor Lawrence thing, I agree. He is definitely a generational talent. I think it will work out. For me, his struggles early on, yes, part Urban Meyer, yes, part just Jacksonville being Jacksonville. But I think part of it is also he played in a very weak football conference in college. The ACC is not known for the best football. He had an amazing team around him. And I don't think that he always had to struggle with not having the best players around him. I think through his whole high school, college career, he had a superior team. Now he's in the NFL. Everyone's a fantastic football player, and he has probably one of the worst rosters around him. So it's going to take him a little bit of time to adjust to the speed of the NFL and just compensating for some of the lesser talented players around him. He's going to get there. He'll be fine. One guy I don't think is going to be fine is Zach Wilson. I don't want to jump the gun too early because I'm going to sound like a fool after a few weeks, but he does not seem to be the answer for the New York Jets.
Yeah, it's hugely concerning for the Jets given how he has started. But the only thing you'd say is that outside of the pass rush, nothing is working for the Jets. And he has given up so many. Like, what I find fascinating is these are multi-billion-dollar franchises in a $1 trillion league, probably close on that with sports betting now. And you draft a guy who is supposed to be, the face of your franchise for certainly at least the minimum of his rookie contract, but probably the best part of a decade, and you don't, put a line in front of him to protect him. I mean, it's insanity. You go and you buy a new Lamborghini, and you just park it there for everyone walking by to key it, everyone to let the tires down. I don't understand why you would do that when you've invested so much in him. And so there's a little bit of sympathy, but yes, every bad trait that he had coming out of college has been
It's there.
absolutely exacerbated.
Yeah, and I just worry for him because looking back to where he played his college ball at BYU, he never had to play very tough opponents. He was an independent. They played a lot of Mountain West and AAC teams or American Athletic Conference. So I think you're seeing the speed of the NFL really shock him. Of the rest of the rookie quarterbacks, I don't want to go through them one by one, but is there anyone else you really find interesting or want to talk about, or should we move on from there?
No, just maybe two very quick things. Mac Jones, right, suffered because he didn't have the absolute physique. But I had said on our show, Mac Jones was not the fat German kid from The Simpsons. Like, don't chase me, I'm full of chocolate, as people made him out to be. Mac Jones was a really solid college QB. I'm not particularly surprised. The Patriots did everything right. They basically brought him through the summer, gave him a load of reps, cut Cam, and played him from the off. The other thing is around Trey Lance, because the 49ers gave up the farm to go up to get Lance. And the reason I think they did that was because Kyle Shanahan had lost faith in Jimmy G, but then he drafted a QB who needed time. And the other thing is, people are saying, "Oh, you got to sit Lance for a while." I'm somebody, I don't think you sit rookie QBs. I think those days are gone. I think Aaron Rodgers is the exception. I think Patrick Mahomes was a little bit of an exception because he came into a situation where he didn't have to play. But ordinarily, especially if you give up the farm, like Trey Lance played one game last year, and you've got to play him. You cannot sit him after that. You've got to let the guy play, let the guy cook, and see where he can go. I have concerns over Kyle Shanahan. I think he wants to be the smartest guy in every room he's in. And I really like him as a coordinator. He obviously had that great season with the 49ers, but some of the decisions this year have been baffling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm generally with you as far as let the kids play. You draft a rookie quarterback, you give him experience. I mean, the only way to learn is by fire. However, I am honestly on the other side with Trey Lance. Hear me out. He played at North Dakota State, which is not even a FBS school. It's the tier lower FCS. So he played really weak competition. And secondarily to that, he only played one game in 2020. So he is super raw. And if you're unfamiliar why he played one game, it was an injury. Basically, the FCS colleges, because of COVID, just kind of took the year off. So he missed his entire last season. I just think he needs time to just get up to speed with some professional offenses and just learn the general speed of the NFL game. He's in now, I believe, because Jimmy G got hurt. Is he still in there now?
No, because he then got hurt. He started a game, he got hurt, and then Jimmy G came back back in. So yeah, they're a mess at the moment.
I will be honest, I am on the East Coast of the United States, and I can't complain to you because you're in Ireland watching these games. But man, those 10 o'clock starts on the the late night games on the West Coast, I just can't stay up for them anymore. So, question though, do you actually watch all the games live over there?
I try to watch what I can. I would say that Monday night, unless the Broncos are playing, I don't do Monday nights because that is 20
Tuesday morning.
Yeah, it's 20 past 3 in the morning, and that means you are essentially rolling right into work. So if the Broncos are playing, what I'll do is I'll go to bed and try to get up at 3 and then watch that. But you're rolling right into work. Thursday nights depends on the game, because you can maybe get a few hours sleep beforehand, get up at 1, watch the game, get another few hours of sleep. Sunday nights are tough because you've had a whole weekend. So but I will watch the early, the first set of games, the second set of games, but that Sunday night game, unless it's a humdinger, no.
Yeah, I feel bad complaining to you about the 8:30 start on Sunday night. It's just too late for me, but Jesus Christ, man, you are a trooper when it comes to the NFL, I'll tell you that. And it's a shame because you're such a big NFL fan, and the NFL just shits on you in return because the games they put in London for you guys to actually go to and enjoy, good God, man, they give you the worst matchups all the time. It's unreal. Do you feel like insulted because of it at all?
I don't, because I get it to an extent, and in some ways, like, yeah, some of the teams you knew, like we knew the Jaguars, right, would be coming over this year, right? But at least they were going to have Trevor Lawrence. But they played the Dolphins. Like when that game was announced back in April, people thought the Dolphins would be a good team.
That's fair.
But obviously that didn't prove to be the case. And I suppose the
other one was the Jets and Falcons.
Yeah, so the Jets you knew. Now the Falcons. I thought the Falcons would be a bit better under Arthur Smith. I will say that, but for that game, I mean that's why I would have huge concerns over Wilson, because just seeing him and with Tua as well.
Ugh,
but
Tua.
Kyle Pitts is another player who's going to be an absolute superstar. And the hilarious thing about Kyle Pitts is he looks so nerdy. Like when you see Kyle Pitts up on the podium doing a press conference, he looks like he could be doing a spelling bee or a maths competition.
Really?
And then you see the guy on a football field, and corners can't cover him, safeties can't cover him. They try sending linebackers over to tackle him, and he breaks tackles. He is a phenomenal. He truly is a unicorn, and I think he could go on to be a very, very special player. You always have to caveat that with the injury side of things, but if he stays injury free, he'll be something else.
He's absolutely a delight to watch, though, for sure. I don't blame them from drafting him that high. I do have a question, though, as an American. Do you think there's enough interest in NFL football? I don't know about Ireland, but at least in London, to support maybe in the future? Because I know this is what they're doing. They're just putting teams there every year to drive up interest and kind of test the waters of maybe expanding into Europe at some point. Because if you can get the NFL football in Europe, that's a gold mine of just a new audience and more revenue. But at this point, after so many years of throwing games in London, is there enough of an appetite to support having NFL football there full time?
I think that there will continue to be games. I don't think there'll ever be a franchise for a number of different reasons. I think it's a great threat for franchises to have to hold against cities, to get them to pay for stadiums.
Oh, yes.
To say, oh, we might go to London, right? Because they sell out. The games sell out. You could put it there, but I don't think like if you were to actually break it down, how would tax work? Both for the players, but also for the owners and for merchandise and all that sort of stuff. If they were to do it long term, you're only able to spend so much time in a different country.
Well, I will say to counter that, even though it is closer to the United States, in the NBA, you have the Toronto Raptors playing most of their games in Toronto, and they figured out how to work out the tax situation and family situation. But it is different because we're talking the same continent. Going overseas, I mean, it is quite a flight from the East Coast over to London. I think it's about 5-6 hours. So it is a bit of a doozy. I don't know.
I think it's a great threat. There's going to be games in Germany from next year, and it's going to be
I didn't know that.
Going to be which will be amazing. It really will be amazing. Like, so the German domestic league, right, gets thousands of people at their domestic American Football League. It's the Germans are brilliant crack. I know they get a bad rep sometimes. The Germans are brilliant crack. The games over there will be brilliant. They really will be. And also what the NFL did, they're very smart. They brought in a guy named Brett Gosper. And your listeners might not know Gosper. He was head of World Rugby. Did a great job in growing rugby around the world in different countries. And the NFL basically brought him in to grow the sport around the world. So they've done a couple of different things. They have allowed teams to focus on individual markets, and they are also looking to grow the league. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on over the next kind of 4 or 5 years, I would say.
Yeah, and I love the point you made about teams leveraging the possibility of going to London for getting money from their local municipalities for improvements to the stadium. That's very common in baseball. You see all the time teams leveraging their local market saying, we're going to go to Las Vegas, we're going to go to wherever. You saw that with Miami Marlins. They got a brand new stadium built. I think it was like $5 billion, pretty much for free from the taxpayers. You see the Oakland A's doing that right now, threatening to move to Las Vegas. And the idea is you say, hey, if you don't give us what we want, we're out of there. So I think that's a great point that I've never even considered. The threat of moving to London gives these owners a huge amount of leverage to get what they want when they negotiate with the local government. And one other thing I know you wanted to talk about, and we did not touch it yet, is the NFC West. That was a thing you sent me of NFC West is really exciting to you. It might be one of the more exciting divisions just because the top heaviness of it, like who's going to come away with the crown. Cardinals are 7-0, which is a huge surprise to everybody. Well, let me rephrase that. Let me take a step back. It's a bit surprising that they're 7-0, but they were a decent team last year, and Kyler Murray is super exciting. So I don't think you're excited that you're surprised that they're good, but more that they're undefeated at this point. But then the Rams are right behind them at 6-1, a team that you thought going in would be 100% legitimate. I, at this point, still favor the Rams taking this thing home just because that offense and Sean McVay is just so explosive. And I love their defense. They've been just a very solid top of the defensive rankings defense every year with Aaron Donald. So do you like either one of those teams, or do you think it's kind of a pick 'em at this point still?
I've been really impressed by the Cardinals. I'm not going to say I'm surprised it's 7-0, but we had some arguments on the Irish NFL show earlier in the year with JJ Watt because there was a feeling, right? JJ said he wanted to go to a contender, and some of the guys kind of scoffed at him going to the Cards, and I thought that
I
was
did too.
unfair, right? Because I just felt, for a number of reasons, right? I think once you get to the dance, as I said, anything can happen. So the idea that you have to go to the Bucks or you have to go to the Chiefs in order to be at a contender, that didn't sit right with me. Also, I watched Steve Nash prolong his career and make his career on the back end really great by going to Arizona because it suits the body of an older player. If you're JJ Watt, genuinely, like if you're JJ Watt who has had a number of injuries, are you really going to want to put yourself in a position where you were going to Green Bay and you were dealing with the winter in Wisconsin? And the Packers are a phenomenal outfit, right? The Packers are going to go to the playoffs. We know that.
Yeah.
But to me, I could just see, having been in Houston, why he would end up going to the Cards. I will put my hand up publicly to say I think Vance Joseph has done a great job. And I was surprised at that. He was terrible as the head coach of the Broncos, and I had real reservations when he went to the Cards. They drafted Isaiah Simmons last year, who I really liked, and I said, Joseph will ruin Isaiah Simmons. I was wrong. Absolutely got that wrong. He's been really impressive as DC, and there's talk now of him being a head coach again. That might be a little bit early. I think the other thing that makes the NFC West so interesting, though, is the 49ers are very disappointing in terms of where they are right now and where people thought they would be. And the Seahawks, my goodness, they're a mess.
Yeah.
They are a mess. I mean, is it Russell's last season? Is it Pete Carroll's last season? Could the team be sold? I saw rumors just before we went live that apparently they're the team that one Jeffrey Bezos is considering buying. He wants into the league, but he's no longer looking at the Denver Broncos. It's the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I also heard, I don't know how much validity there is to this, but he is also potentially interested in the Washington football team. And the idea is that there is just so much shit flying around the owner right now that, the NFL might pressure him to sell. And also he's not very popular amongst other owners, apparently. So that's another option, because I know Jeffrey Bezos owns some businesses in Washington. I think he owns the Washington Post in DC
He
as
does,
well.
yeah. He owns the Washington Post, which may raise its own questions, but that's
Yeah.
probably another podcast for another day. But
Oh,
I would say yes, if you're the NFL owners, right, and Dan Snyder has led to a congressional inquiry into your business, you are not going to be best pleased. I would imagine they would be delighted if Bezos was to look at that franchise. I think
I think the fans would be delighted. Yeah.
would be delighted. Just to say, like, because I think it should be shouted from the rooftops. What Dan Snyder did with Sean Taylor's memory and inducting him
God.
into their Ring of Fame to deflect from the headlines was absolutely disgraceful.
And did you see the way it was put together too? Was such in poor taste. I guess they commemorated a street to Sean Taylor, and apparently the street's just like a small side street with porta potties all over it. It was clearly a PR move to say, "Hey, look at us, we're doing good stuff." And the crazy thing is, it's the same move he's already pulled with the team name change, because he was vehemently against changing the name for so many years. I will never change the name of this team. I will never change the name of this team. And as soon as the smoke started coming around his franchise and him, hey, we're change of heart. We want to do the right thing. Let's be the Washington football team for now. And then when the smoke comes again, what does he do? Hey, look over here, Sean Taylor. Oh, don't look at what's going on behind the scenes. It's just a disgrace. I mean, that city deserves better. I don't know how the fans are still sticking with that god awful franchise at this point, but if there are any still out there, they deserve better. It's just a mess there in Washington. And the worst thing is, well, not the worst thing, there's a lot more things worse than this. They were supposed to be good. They are a tire fire this year. It's just the whole thing's a mess.
Yeah, and I do feel for their fans because they have a great fan base there, and they're a storied franchise. I mean, this is a team who, had the Hogs, probably the greatest position group in NFL history. I know, and I say that as somebody who loved the no-fly zone, the Orange Crush defense, the Legion of Boom. But what the Hogs did in terms of just bullying others and bringing that Washington team to Super Bowl numerous victories, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Do you have if you had a preference? I know there's a couple names floating around for a potential replacement for the Washington football team. Do you have a favorite of like the names floated around there, or a name you'd prefer to see? If you could pick any name you want
for a head coach in Denver, is it?
Or, no, I'm sorry. For the Washington football team, a replacement name for that football team.
Oh, sorry, replacement name. Sorry.
No, it's okay. That's my fault.
It's tough to know what would work well. Like I think back to NFL Europe, which was a thing at one point, right?
I remember that, yeah.
It was kind of an NFL development league. Kurt Warner came out of it. But the London had a team called the London Monarchs, which is quite a fitting name.
Yeah.
If one is to subscribe to royalty, so I don't know if Washington should go with something to reflect where their location or not. Maybe that would be something, but I get more than that. My hope is that they get a new owner, and it's the new owner who names the team rather than Dan Snyder.
Yeah, for me, this I don't think this name's in the running, but I think the perfect name for the Washington football team. First of all, I actually have grown to love the Washington football team as a name. I think that's just great. But secondarily to that, the Washington Generals. Now think of it. You can make your uniforms all camouflage and stuff. People will dig that. People love some camouflage shit. They'll buy that, eat it up. Washington Generals, it makes sense. It's kind of like, goes with the whole DC vibe. Maybe the Senators, whatever. Be creative, Washington. Let's get something good out of this. Let's do a couple more little things and get out of here for you today, because I know it's getting late for you over there in Ireland. I appreciate you again joining us. It's Colin Cronin from the Irish NFL Show, and let's just talk about my boy Tommy Touchdowns, because today, I don't know if you can see what I'm rocking. I'm actually a Buccaneers fan, which is strange enough because I live in New England and I hate the Patriots with a passion. And I just happen to have always been a Bucs fan. So it's a very weird dynamic being a Bucs fan and having Mr. Tom Brady on my team now. Also, just for you to know, I don't think many people know this outside the New England area, but I was really hoping as a Bucks fan, once we got Tom Brady, people would be so mad and hate the Bucks and be like, "Oh, I hate you guys. My team sucks now." And I am so disappointed that everyone's now a Bucks fan around here. Get the hell away. This is my team. I've been shitty for so long. This is my time to shine. You can't have any of this joy, all right? But Tommy touchdown. I don't know how he's still doing it. But number 600, what do you think about this season for Tommy B?
Well, if you go back just to prior to Bruce Arians getting the job with the Bucks, and I remember the newspaper, the local newspaper, the name escapes me, but they did a piece, right, which was called "The Bucks Decade of Decay," and it basically talked about a lost decade, and how the nothing had gone right. And Bruce Arians walks in the building, and he begins to clean up the mess. But obviously, look, and if the rumors are to be believed, Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers turned down Tommy, who wants to go back to his home state, which is unbelievable. But he's been incredible. He, in a year and a half there, he has 61 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. I mean, that's a ratio that's just ridiculous, like 4-1. I mean, but what I do love about the Bucks is, and I think part of the feel good factor for the Bucks, and for, even with, because you look at the weapons Brady has now, and it's ridiculous. Like they were missing, their two of their WR1 probably, and their tight end one last week, and they still have so many options. But I think Bruce Arians and the way in which he goes about coaching has had a huge impact, and I think he has helped Tom relax. But I think when you hear him talk, Arians doesn't hog the limelight. He has two great coordinators there. He bigs those guys up all the time. He talks about how Leftwich calls the plays, and he allows Leftwich to do it. He doesn't want to do it. He trusts him. He talks about the trust he has in his guys. The Bucks have the most diverse coaching staff in the league, and if that isn't a testament to the strength of diversity and what they have gone and done and built there, I just nothing but admiration for Bruce Arians, what he's put together there. I wonder, I think this year they're certainly going to the conference game. When it gets to that point, you have to wonder where everyone is in terms of injuries and stuff, but they will be there or thereabouts. They brought everybody back, like on the playing side and on the coaching side. It will be very interesting to me to see. I think there will be teams this year that will be willing to wait to get a Byron Leftwich, to give Todd Bowles another chance, because Todd Bowles made the Jets reasonable. So I don't know if they'll be able to do that a third year, but look, they've been a joy to watch. If you're a football fan, you have to admire what they've been doing.
I know, it's crazy just the way things changed immediately after Tom Brady arrived, which begs the question. I know they made some moves after they got rid of Jameis Winston, but was he the real impediment for them taking that next step? Because that offense is pretty much the same. Granted, they added a few offensive linemen, but man, night and day with Tom Brady. I do want to ask you, like, we are very high in the Bucks, obviously. Do you think that they should be the team that's considered the favorite to take this whole thing, or do you think there's someone else that might be better and might take it at the end, Super Bowl that is?
I think the Bucks have to be favorites. I think given the coaching staff that they have there and the players that they have. I mean, I like a lot of what the Rams are doing, but I will say that losing Brandon Staley, I think it will matter when we get to January. I like the Cards, but they're untested. And the AFC, I mean, we talked a little bit about this earlier, but the AFC is who's the best team? I mean, the Titans just put huge beatdowns on, like, not huge, but significant beatdowns on the Bills and the Chiefs, right? They were impressive in both. They got the stop on Josh Allen, and the Chiefs, obviously, they went to town on them. but they're
Yeah.
only a few weeks removed from losing to the Jets. So I look at the AFC side and I go, who do you trust? The Bucks I trust. We know that when January comes around, he's going to always be there or thereabouts. So can you guarantee they win it? No, you can't, but justifiably favorites for me.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point because if I look at the NFC, there's 3 or 4 teams I absolutely trust to say I think that team can go all the way and win the Super Bowl. And then did I say NFC? Yeah. And then I look at the AFC, and man, every one of these teams that is leading a division, I look at it and go, I don't know. You got the Raiders. I don't think they're for real. You got the Titans again. They've looked great in previous seasons, but in the playoffs, just something happens, and Tannehill just can't go get them over the hump. And then Ravens and Bengals. I mean, Bengals are new to the party. I love what they're doing there in Cincinnati, but I guess honestly, the team I trust the most in the AFC might be the Bills, and they're sitting at 4-2, and they just got walloped. So I don't know. It should be a very interesting end of the season. I'm looking forward to it. And I just have one last thing for you before we get out here today. So Tom Brady threw a 600 touchdown pass this past weekend, and Mike Evans' teammate caught the ball and inexplicably threw it into the stands. And a Bucks fan had it, and he returned the ball to Tom Brady for this reward: 2 signed Brady jerseys and a signed Brady helmet, a signed Mike Evans jersey and his game cleats, $1,000 to the team store, 2 season tickets for the rest of this season, and also 2 season tickets for the 2021 season. And then on top of that, I believe Tom Brady threw in a Bitcoin today. I'm sure his partnership with FTX took care of that, which the value of that's approximately, give or take, between $1 and $1 million right now, but it's actually $60,000 at the moment. So a decent little reward. Colin, what would it take you as a reward to give back that football?
I thought the what he asked for in terms of, he said he wanted to play a round of golf. I thought that made more sense, right? Because things are nice to have, right? But if you offered me a signed Shannon Sharpe jersey, or I can watch a game with Shannon Sharpe, I'd watch the game with Shannon Sharpe, even though I get to keep the jersey. To me, the experience of something is so much more valuable. When I look at like my trips to America, right, I have some souvenirs, but it's the memories that I treasure. When I go to games at Mile High and I go tailgating, that's what I remember, not like the match day program or anything like that. So I totally got where he was coming from and asking for the round of golf. I wish he'd got that instead in some ways. The other bits and pieces are nice. And look, obviously it's lovely to have a Bitcoin that, who knows, in a year, in another half a year, it might be $110,000. But I understood where he was coming from in terms of asking for the round of golf. So for me, I now, Tom, given what he puts into his body, although he was drinking, we saw him drinking at the Super Bowl. I think a night, if Tom Brady, a night out in Dublin, that's what I would have said.
Oh,
come out drinking with me and my friends, Tom. It'll be some crack, and we'll have amazing stories.
Only if you get Super Bowl boat party, Tom Brady. I would love to see that guy stumbling on an island.
I guarantee that Dublin would bring that out in Tom, I feel.
Absolutely. And I love your answer, because you were spoken like a true worldly man. I don't need the things. I want the experience, and I love it. And speaking of experiences, this has been an excellent experience hanging out with you, Colm. I really appreciate your time. Live from Dublin, Ireland, got Colm Cronin of the Irish NFL Show. Please check out their podcast. I've listened to it a few times. They have some excellent insight. They're very knowledgeable. They break down the games after the week. So if you want some inside information on what happened in the games, listen to them. If you want to, come to the games on Sunday and sound smart and know all your shit, check them out before the games. They do pregame stuff as well. They know their stuff. That's the Irish NFL Show. Do us a favor, support the people that support us. Check them out. Colm, I want to just thank you again, buddy, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, Steve. No, I had a good crack coming on with you and enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. Look forward to welcoming you to Dublin, hopefully at some point in the future, and bring those two co-hosts along with you. But no, this has been great. And to the listeners, yeah, like definitely get in touch. I'm very active on Twitter at Column from Cork. Love hearing from new people. Love talking ball. So yeah, keep in touch, and let's keep the conversation going.
Absolutely. And thank you, listeners, for listening this week. Remember, we do this thing once a week. Remember, if you enjoyed the podcast, follow, subscribe, review. We're everywhere you can get your podcast. We'll talk to you next week. Peace out.